So you're one.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Continue our conversation on Stop and Frisk, and joining us to do that is Richard Brodsky, former assemblyman, senior fellow at Demos, and professor at NYU. You, of course, know Dominic Carter, and also Andrew Whitman, and Kim Lengel, who's been leading this coverage for us, is here as well. All right, let me give you a couple quick comments that we got on this question that we posed about whether stop and frisk is good policing or if it's profiling and some bad policy. And I'll start off first with Ronald Johnson, who writes this via Facebook. I don't think there's been a better law enforcement tool to break the back of serious crime and to promote investment in business activity in low and moderate income communities. The other perspective comes via Twitter from the Underdog Shaw, who writes, the stop and frisk policy should be banned. Children are being taught a bad lesson. Racial profiling is definitely a factor. And Richard, let me start with you, which is, I was taking a look, and we'll bring up part of the Fourth Amendment for everybody. People can have this debate about the philosophy of right and wrong, but practically, just stopping somebody with furtive movements, whatever that means, and just say, okay, you look the part here, hands against the wall. How is that constitutionally protected?
Well, the power that we give the government to do stuff with our bodies, our lives, our money is power that is limited. And the Constitution says that the government can't coerce you without going through legal process. And that's the heart and soul of the American experience. The choice ought not to be the choice that we've been given by a lot of these folks. We should be able to provide protection against crime in high crime neighborhoods that don't require us to violate the Constitution. You could actually have a crime-free state if the police were given enormous powers without probable cause. We don't want to live in that kind of society. People are willing to tolerate more and more. There's a wonderful quote from James Madison that says the fundamental erosions of our liberties won't come with an explosion. It'll come from small increments that people let go and think it's okay. We can do better than this. We can do better than this.
Dominic, I just get this a sense from what the governor did as relates to, you know, possessions of small amounts of marijuana, to not just the protests this past weekend. This thing's moving along, but I'm very surprised that the mayor, who was a smart guy, and the police commissioner, who was one of the biggest proponents of community policing, you covered him when he first, Ray Kelly pushed this, that they dug their heels on this, and they're going to fight this thing to the very end. They want to keep stop and frisk.
Well, if you're the mayor and the police commissioner, your number one priority has to be law and order. And so they have basically boxed themselves in, where how do you get out of a policy that they view is very effective? They're not going to come out and say, oh, we made a mistake by stopping and frisking 87% of black and Latino men. I mean, they're never going to say, no mayor's going to, an African-American mayor won't say that. They will contend that law and order is the way to go. But this is not by accident, Richard, that this is changing. And for the record, it's important I say this. We're acting like stop and frisk just started. What's going on with law enforcement in communities of color, guess what? It's been going on longer than I've been alive. It's just this is a policy as of right now. That's all.
But it's a stated one.
There's never been a policy.
Wait. There's never been a policy of rolling up on a black man and telling them get up on the wall.
You're starting in on me again on the same.
No, I'm not starting.
I'm not going to let you
box
me in that way.
No,
like you tried to do once before.
No,
I'm not going to let you stop and frisk me on racial politics.
No. But I'm telling you about something that I know.
That there have been problems in the policing
You're
of
telling me,
communities of color. I don't dispute.
You're telling me they
have this fight. Let me ask you this. It was a pretty big turnout, wasn't it?
Huge. It went for blocks.
And every mayoral candidate here, we don't know on the Republican side, but every Democratic candidate showed up in effect here to say, I'm against this policy too. You get the sense the next person in Gracie Mansion is going to do an about-face on this thing.
That's really what everybody's thinking here, is the only change that's going to come is going to come in the next administration. But what's so interesting about this to me is that the idea of preventing crime and taking guns off the street has gotten so much into the conversation with stop and frisk. And Richard, you know yourself as an attorney that stop and frisk was never meant to prevent crime. But we're discussing that you know, from Terry v. Ohio, the Supreme Court never defined stop and frisk as preventing crime.
It's become an awful debate because it forces people sometimes to take positions on things like, are you sensitive to the problems in communities of color? Are you really against crime? We have developed systems in the United States that will let police do their job, can reduce crime without stopping innocent people on the street because someone doesn't like the way they look. It's not just about race. It's not just about effectiveness.
And I think it puts cops
and
really in the worst position here because you got to make the numbers, you know?
The change. He said it needs to be mended. There's going to be progress here.
But how could we say with a straight face? I feel almost like Eddie Murphy, like a comedian. How could we say with a straight face that it's not about race when 87% of the people that are stopped, and we know what police feel about people of color. This is nothing new. Police view people of color as the criminal.
But my whole thing is, we don't even have to debate the black and white of the people. The numbers, if 99.9% of the people who are stop and frisk don't have a gun, chalk it up and say the thing worked.
And aren't
arrested. And now it's time to move on.
And aren't detained.
I think we agree here.